Hi and hello everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well, and it's time for a reaction to an interesting post, a thought piece that I saw on the internet on our subreddit. Regardless, here's a shout out to our sponsor, the good people over at The Ridge. They're having a big holiday sale, so if you use that promo code MELON, and they're actually having, some other sales on the site as well for this month. So, use that promo code, look them up. You guys have seen the wallets. You've probably been sitting there thinking like, I would like to get one of those wallets, but I don't know if I have the money for it, so on and so forth. They're having a huge holiday sale. Look it up. Check them out. Link down below. Promo code MELON. Boom, boom, bada, bada, boom, bam. Let's read this post, which I am kind of bringing up here because I actually do relate to some of what's being talked about. Did anyone else grow up around family members that relentlessly mocked the music you enjoyed to the point where you avoided mentioning music or art to the people around you? My parents would call rap not music or make weird comments about black people whenever it came on. It's clearly from a lack of diversity in their childhoods, and instead of trying to understand differing cultures, they went with the easy route of ridiculing it. When I was younger, I only listened to 70s rock because that's what was played. Anytime that I tried something new, I would get made fun of. I'm curious if others had a similar experience and why this kind of thing happens. It's not even that as people get older, they tend to stagnate, but some carry a weird bitterness that makes exploration of the contemporary arts a tightrope walk. The shame that can follow from being in that kind of environment has probably stopped so many great artists from creating. How do we prevent this phenomenon from occurring? Generationally and age-wise, I am a lot of things. I am a 30-something. I am an elder millennial. I'm a 90s kid. I very vividly remember the years, the days in which I was kind of getting into music, becoming passionate about music, the throughways that I was being exposed to it from, be it the radio or MTV, VH1, that kind of thing. And also the artists and genres that I was being turned on to through these channels, be it Green Day and The Offspring and Metallica and Nirvana and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Biggie and Tupac and Dr. Dre and TLC and Boyz II Men and also Weird Fucking Al and also Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, these are things that I listened to when I was like 10, 11, 12. Every day when I think of my job and my work and my passion for music, I thank the Lord above for the fact that I was given parents who weren't music nerds themselves, weren't nearly as passionate about music as I turned out to be, but they were relatively open to whatever it is that I personally wanted to listen to, while they would give their opinions on certain things here and there. Nothing as far as artists or albums or singles or whatever were banned from my ears. I was never prevented from listening to anything that I wanted to hear on the radio or otherwise, even if it was a certain genre, even if there were some naughty words in it. I know in my mom's experience personally, a lot of that freedom that she was giving me came from the fact that she personally felt that way as a kid in terms of her parents' reactions to the music that she enjoyed during the 60s and 70s, and she didn't wish to do the same thing to me. To go into a bit of a personal story here, I remember one time after my parents had separated, long separated, she had a boyfriend over the house, and often I would get free reign of her stereo whenever I wanted to throw some tapes or some music onto it that I wanted to listen to. I don't remember what artist this was that I was listening to or putting on the stereo, but it was like a hip hop tape that I had. And I was putting it on and I was playing it, and his initial reaction, his like frame one instantaneous reaction to me doing this was, "I can't believe you let him listen to that stuff. This is garbage. This isn't music. All those guys who make that music are murderers and drug dealers and da 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 da." And my mom's response to this was, "I actually like some of that music. I think they make good songs," and just allowed me to continue playing that music on the stereo. So, good on her. He had no say. Fuck that guy. I think his name was Mike, if I can remember correctly. That relationship didn't last too long. Even though this wasn't a sentiment that my parents were beating into me per se, like my mom or my dad never sat me down and said like, this is real music, you're listening to shit. While that didn't happen, I was exposed to those kinds of opinions routinely by other people who were around their age or older. Those opinions being hip hop isn't music, that's just crap. They don't even play instruments. They're just like talking over a beat. Obviously, rap music was being put through the ringer, and the other thing that I listened to that was being put through the ringer was just a lot of metal and loud rock. Why do you listen to that? It's so loud. It's just noise. They're just screaming. You can't even understand the words they're saying. Like, keep in mind, during this time frame culturally, we're only like, less than a decade out of the satanic panic of the 80s. I mean, which in many regards did continue on into the 90s. Even dressing a little bit like you were a metalhead of some sort got you looks, or like you were some kind of like insane cultist or some shit like that if you were in certain spaces. So yeah, to reiterate, I've been exposed to quite a few freaking old people that had exactly these opinions. I am happy to say that, at least from my perspective, while there still are, unfortunately, a lot of racist sentiments being expressed and echoed in younger generations of people, I do not as often see the sentiment or the idea or the opinion that hip-hop isn't music, or, whatever isn't music, kind of slanted in a very racist way. But as far as why these attitudes crop up or have cropped up in the past, I think I have a few ideas. One, it's change. There are prevailing trends and sounds and styles that arise out of every decade musically and artistically. And among older people across the board, regardless of race, you do often find a difficulty in embracing, those new sounds, those new trends, that next generation of artists. I think we lived through a lot of those growing pains in the 2010s, not only with hip hop rising to the mainstream prominence that it did, but a lot of artists that are just cut from a different cloth than the likes of Nas or the Wu-Tang Clan. So they have their own sound, they have their own style, they have their own direction, and a lot of them, unfortunately, were very viciously ridiculed for it, really rejected by the greats and the older listeners within their own genre. But now, as we kind of enter into the 2020s, a lot of that has been smoothed over, thankfully. But still, number one, a lot of it does have to do with just changing sounds and aesthetics and people getting older. For most music listeners, like that prime music listening age is in the tweens and early 20s. That's when you're doing your most adventurous listening. That's when you're hearing a lot of the music that is like, kind of defining some of the most key moments of your youth. You're listening to artists and records that you are going to slowly develop fond memories of, that you're going to look back on in your 30s. As I get older, it is more and more difficult to find people around my age that are still listening to, whatever is like the new shit, the new thing, the new whatever. And as a result, there is like a lack of connection and context and understanding. And you have to know, like, a lot of the game when it comes to enjoying art or appreciating something is kind of having like a conception or a familiarity with it as you're kind of going into it. So you at least like have some kind of context for what it is, what it's expressing, why it exists, why does it sound like this? And as older people disconnect from newer trends and evolutions in popular art, they can check out, they could tune out, and unfortunately, like they just like kind of lose touch with the direction things were going in. They've missed a few seasons of popular music, so now you're trying to catch them up on the latest shit, and they're like, they've missed all the developments up until this point. And again, that lack of familiarity can cause distaste, bitterness, a lack of understanding, and depending on the attitude of the individual who you're talking to, that lack of understanding can be either embraced, can can create curiosity or can create unhappiness and anger. I don't know this, therefore I don't like this. So age and checking out and time can create that distance, as can a lack of familiarity or context for a culture if a certain genre or sound or expression within music is specific to a particular country or community, something like that, which is the case for hip hop, which is the case for various subcultures within rock music, like metal music, which is the case for a variety of different genres from other countries. And like, really, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, we can talk about all these various hangups and factors, be it generational stuff, be it cultural, be it race, be it whatever. But you can essentially inoculate yourself against all of these, no matter how old you are, if you just concentrate on and do your best to be an open-minded person. Believe me, the benefits that you'll get from continuing to be open-minded into old age will be far-reaching and far greater than just being able to enjoy Billie Eilish, as much of a pleasure as that is in life. But yeah, ultimately this comes down to rejecting new ideas and, to one degree or another, being kind of sheltered, which many of us are through no fault of our own to some degree. But if you are aware of how sheltered you are, how much knowledge you are lacking or experience you are lacking, you can put in the work and effort to try to gain at least some of that and close the gaps to prevent yourself from ever running into a situation where you might say something along the lines of, hip hop's not really music, whatever the hell that would be for maybe the year 2042 or 2052. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions on that. I'm going to leave that there. You're the best. Thank you for watching. Love you. Mwah. Anthony Fantano, open-mindedness, old people, music, forever.